The arrest of Venezuela's president. In January 2026, the United States executed an unprecedented military operation in Venezuela. US forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and brought him to the United States to face criminal charges. This marked one of the most controversial foreign interventions in recent history, raising questions about sovereignty, drugs, oil, and the future of the Western Hemisphere. Tensions, the United States and Venezuela have been at odds for decades. Since Hugo Chávez's rise in 1999 and Maduro's succession in 2013, relations deteriorated sharply. Maduro's government was accused of corruption, economic mismanagement and authoritarianism, culminating in mass migration, hyperinflation and political repression. These factors set the stage for mounting international pressure. Suggested visuals: news archives of Venezuela protests, collapsing economy, mass migration.
Venezuela.
In 2020, US prosecutors indicted Maduro on narco-terrorism and drug trafficking charges, accusing him of leading or protecting vast drug networks known as the Cartel of the Suns. In 2025, the US went further, designating the cartel and related groups as foreign terrorist organizations. The Trump administration argued that Venezuela had become a transit hub for narcotics bound for the United States, justifying military action as a form of law enforcement. But critics said the evidence for Maduro's direct involvement remained unclear. Suggested visuals, DEA seizure footage, cartel graphics, court indictments.
Which I guess we saved $50 million. And yeah, exactly. But
3. Operation Southern Spear and militarization. Under a campaign known internally as Operation Southern Spear, US forces increased their presence around Venezuela throughout 2025. Naval blockades, strikes on vessels, and growing military pressure culminated in a full assault. In late December, the first significant land strike was reported, targeting drug trafficking infrastructure, which the US claimed supported its broader justification for force. Suggested visuals: warship deployments, military maneuvers in the Caribbean.
As the diversionary airstrikes continue to pull Venezuelans.
January 3, 2026, elite US Special Forces launched a surprise raid on Maduro's compound in Caracas, capturing him and his wife amid intense operations, later flown to New York to face prosecution. The Trump administration hailed the operation as a law enforcement action, aimed at bringing a criminal to justice, insisting Maduro's leadership had inflicted harm on Venezuela and contributed to drug trafficking, migration crises, and regional instability. Suggested visuals: helicopter assault footage, detention images.
Deliberately, their hands look from here as if they are handcuffed.
President Trump invoked a modern reinterpretation of the Monroe Doctrine, a 19th century policy asserting US influence in the Western Hemisphere. Analysts suggest this justification reinforced a vision of US dominance in Latin America and framed Venezuela as a security threat. Critics labelled this a return to interventionist policies that prioritise geopolitical interests over international norms. Suggested visuals: historical Monroe Doctrine documents, Trump speeches. Oil and strategic interests. Venezuela holds the largest proven oil reserves on Earth. Control of those resources has long been a strategic interest for global powers. Including the US, Trump's public comments noted that Venezuela's oil sector could be rebuilt and that US companies would play roles in its future development, fueling speculation that resource interests partly motivated the intervention. Some critics argue that oil and mineral wealth played a larger role than official rhetoric admits, a view echoed across global debates. Suggested visuals: Venezuelan oil fields, pumps, export tankers.
Sent Venezuela's oil production into steep decline. Canada, only potential loser. During the 1990s, Venezuela was the largest exporter of crude oil to the US. The US sanctions on the Hugo Chavez and later Maduro governments, along with and sell Venezuela's oil to cover the costs of Washington's intervention. Venezuela only accounts for 1% of the global oil production, but it's estimated to have 300 billion barrels worth, which means
Global reaction and legal controversy. the world responded with shock. Legal experts, UN officials, and multiple governments condemned the action as a violation of international law, undermining sovereignty and setting a dangerous precedent. Russia, China, and many Latin American nations decried the US operation as unlawful and destabilizing, claiming it risked broader conflict and eroded global norms. Suggested visuals, UN sessions, protest footage, world map reactions.
And China is Nicolas Maduro a hegemonic act violating international law.
Conclusion. The arrest of Venezuela's president by US forces was not a singular event, but the culmination of years of tension, sanctions, legal battles, military escalation, and strategic rivalry. Whether viewed as justice served or a dangerous intervention, the operation reshaped geopolitics, challenged international law, and raised enduring questions about the balance between national security and respect for sovereign nations. VO. Closing. In a world struggling between power and principle, the arrest of Nicolas Maduro remains one of the most controversial acts of the early 21st century, and its full impact is still unfolding.
SUV, then to a helicopter for the brief flight to lower. The early morning odyssey began with the Maduros loaded into an armored truck, then transferred.